Good afternoon. My name's Teresa Klepac. My husband, Bill, right over here. Bill's a Master Gardener too from 2018. I've always been crazy about wildflowers. I was a Girl Scout growing up. I did Girl Scout camp. My mom we used to go on wildflower walks, and we'd have to remember what all the names were. And we didn't go by the official names. It was the common names. So anybody who's offended by common names, you might as well get up and go now, because that's all I work with. I have a hard enough time remembering anything, just the common names. I don't want to get confused. So. Master Gardening Experience. Again, just my curiosity. When I see a plant I haven't seen before, I'll actually stop my car, get out, take a picture, and go home and research it, because I have to know what the name of that plant is. And we're native Austinites, but we moved up here about 3 years ago, and there's different wildflowers here. There are some that are the same, but there's also some different ones. And that's one of the reasons why we joined the Master Gardeners, is because you can't garden in Centerville like you did in Austin, Texas. It's entirely different. So anyway, that's a little bit about my background and my love of wildflowers. I wanted to, this slideshow, we're just talking about what is a wildflower, and a lot of people might have different ideas of what a wildflower is. I happen to have wildflowers in my garden beds because I like wildflowers. A lot of them have a lot of medicinal properties. But a lot of people only consider natives as wildflowers. So for instance, the honeysuckle you see blooming right now with the yellow and white little blooms, those are not native, but you would still probably consider them a wildflower because you see them all over the place, right? So there's approximately 2,700 species of native plants that are considered wildflowers. Am I in your way? No. Okay, all right. So here's a picture of some beautiful wildflowers. So TxDOT decided to get into the scheme of things. They found out that, man, this is actually a good tourist attraction for us to be seeding the highways and byways. And so starting in 1917, when TxDOT was organized, they started noticing that the first thing that came up was wildflowers, or weeds, as some people might call them. And so in 1932, they hired their first architect, landscape architect, to encourage wildflowers and other plants. And so back in 1934, as early as 1934, they actually stopped running their mowers early in the spring, just so that they could allow for the seeding of the wildflowers. And so today they still maintain those kind of techniques. And it says here that they buy and sow about 30,000 pounds of wild seed each year. Supposedly they even do some layering as far as only mowing strips, so that again they can allow some of the wildflowers to go to seed. There's another pretty picture of a mix of wildflowers. So what I thought we would do today is test your knowledge on wildflowers. So the first thing you got to do is, anybody's got one of those little books, have to fold it up, Tom. And this is not going to be, you don't get any points, unfortunately, or anything like that. Didn't bring candy bars for an award or anything. But I thought it would be fun for us just to go through them. Again, these are going to be common names. Some of these have several common names. So you can just call it out if you think you know what it is. Okay? It is actually Texas thistle. Now, here's a cool thing. If you don't know what it is and you want to sound knowledgeable, you just say, oh, that's in the Aster family. Because there's over 20,000 species in the Aster family. And I've marked all of these that are in the Aster family, so you're pretty close to getting it right if you just say it's in the Aster family. This one happens to be a biennial. Anybody know? Oh, we're Master Gardeners in here. Biennial. Yeah, it grows the first year. The second year, it actually produces the seed and dies. Buttercup. What's another name? I'm sorry?
It's a primrose.
There you go. Pink evening primrose, or buttercup. When you're kids, how many of y'all stuck your nose and got your nose all yellow? Yeah, all of that. I didn't know it was a perennial until I was looking it up. Spiderwort, very good. Spiderwort, you can see there's little tiny ones, and then there's some that grow 2 to 3 feet high. What I didn't know is the color of the flower will tell you how acidic your soil is, which I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm going to have to go test that out though, because that's what it says. So I'll see. Am I in your way? You're good. You're good. All right. Who knows what that is?
Antelope Horn.
Antelope Horn. Yeah. And another common name? Monarch milkweed, right? Spider milkweed. It's in the milkweed family. This is the one flower that the monarch caterpillar will get on, and this supplies the food for the monarch, and then this chrysalis will actually build on that particular plant as well. This one's an interesting one. This one I have seen blooming only in one place, and I had to hunt it down.
They're along 45, the feeder road. Yeah.
So I saw these on 977 between 1119 and US 75, and it's a giant coneflower. And I see them mow them down every year, and I'm worried sick that they're going to die and never come back, and there they come back up again.
Poppy. It's a giant poppy.
Yep. A white prickly poppy. And before any of us go, ooh, it's a poppy, it actually is one of our better pollinators for the end of the summer for our bees. So it does perform a service for us. You are pretty good. That's a Mexican hat. Again, in the Aster family. This is easy, remember? Aster family. Those are real prevalent right now. What about this one? Don't look. Okay, this one's actually confuses a lot of people. They think it's a dandelion, but it's called a Texas dandelion, false dandelion. It's in the chicory family, but it does not have the same properties, the medicinal properties that the blue chicory flower that you see does. That's the dandelion, yeah. And again, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center doesn't even have this one in their database because they don't consider it a native. So, well, because it came from Europe. Well, I'm sitting there going, didn't everything come from somewhere else? But anyway, that's their issue. So, what about this one? Firewheel, that's good because that's one of them, but that's not the one I had heard until I started researching this. What's another name for it? Indian blanket, very good. And it actually, according to Richard, it's the state flower for Oklahoma, and there's a lot of Indian lore backing up this wildflower. Indian paintbrush. Now what I found interesting on this is that this is an inconspicuous flower that is right down in here. That's where the flower is, but the bract is what's colored, and that's what we think is the flower. Kind of interesting. Oh, the other thing was kind of interesting is that it steals the nutrients from the plants next to it. So it sticks its roots out and it grabs whatever the nutrients are with the roots around them. So they don't transplant well, just for the record. You go dig one up along the side, which I didn't suggest you do.
Especially not in Wyoming because it's their state flower.
Oh, it's a Wyoming state flower. Yes. There you go. Do they call it Indian paintbrush?
Yes. Down here it looks more orange, but up there it's red.
Okay. Indian bluebonnet. There's 5 species that are recognized as the state flower. Occasionally you'll get a pink one, occasionally you'll get a white one. They might not be that way again the next year, as I understand it, but they're all considered the state flower.
They're also breeding red.
I bet A&M is doing the red. They've been known to do that. Hi, ladies. Don't forget to sign in. We don't have as many of them here as we did in Central Texas, but we've got a little patch of them in front of our house that get a little bit bigger every year. And Bill hates them because I make him wait until they seed, and it gets pretty nasty in the front yard. But this one showed up a lot this year because we had so much rain. Spider lily. First time I saw that, I thought, wow, that's a lost bulb. And then I started seeing them everywhere. So along the ditches where a lot of water stands and stuff, they were really, really prevalent this year. So in the lily family. Horsemint. Anybody else got another name for that? It's also called lemon mint. If you rub the leaves, it's got a citrusy smell to it. It's in the mint family. That wine cup, yep. These don't look quite, when I was a little girl, I always had to look for the one that had the perfect little cup. You know, these already opened up a little too much for my liking, but of course, as soon as you picked them, yeah. All right, what about this one?
Moss verbena.
Moss verbena. You're going to win the prize. You get to make seed balls. This is prairie or moss verbena. It is a perennial. It shows up in my yard. I thought it was from some person that had planted it before we got there. So I was really surprised to find it on the roadsides, thinking, who is planting this stuff? God is. What about this one? Rain. Yeah, rain lily. So it says that they bloom 2 or 3 days after good rains. They'll start opening at dusk and they'll be wide open in the morning. So that's the reason why when you get up in the morning, all of a sudden you see them where you didn't see them. They all open up kind of at the same time. I also did not know it was a perennial, so it obviously must have some sort of bulb in there that keeps popping up. Very good. It's this common sunflower. There are a lot of varieties, and I tried to find one that I saw that's been, I parked alongside the roadway again, ripped up, I cut off a piece. And you've got these like triangular or heart-shaped leaves. That's kind of how you can tell it's in the sunflower family, and it's hairy. But this is a sunflower. And again, it's a Aster family. So that's in the Aster family, right? So this one's a little different. What do you think that one is? Yeah, black-eyed Susan. Yeah. Again, in the Aster family, the only way I could tell the difference, they're not quite as hairy, and their leaf structure is a little different. No, we've already done the Indian blanket. Sorry. Coreopsis, our tickweed. I found this kind of an interesting little tidbit, the reason why it's called a tickweed. It obviously has some sort of oils in it that gives it kind of a strong smell. And back in the day, they used to stuff their mattresses with them to keep the ticks and fleas off. Remember that if you need that. I mean, that's good information to know, right? This one's it's a short little shrub, a short bush. It's a Blackfoot Daisy, rock daisy. In the Aster family. Surprise, surprise. Anybody know what those are called? Richard, you guessed that earlier. They're real little. They're only about this tall. I'm sorry? Oh, well, now you're going with, we only go with common names here. Blue-eyed grass, sword leaf, blue-eyed grass. I've seen narrow leaf, blue-eyed grass. It's called blue-eyed, but it's actually in the lily family, and it is not a grass. So.
Does it have a bowl?
Well, it's a perennial, so it must have some sort of bulb in it. But it does not come across to me like a regular bulb, like a lily, but it is in the iris family. Nope.
Looks like an
Oh, she's digging. She's looking back. Looking back. Looking back.
Oh, I recognize them.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, an Aster.
They look like a ballerina.
Oh, an Aster? Well, yeah, you got that right.
I call it Aster.
Fleabane.
Fleabane.
They look real similar to chamomile. So. An Engelmann daisy or a cutleaf daisy. Again, I was just trying to find ones that now, for sure, we're seeing now versus when I've seen them in the past. Oh, no one knows what those are. There's actually a number of different species of goldenrod. We actually mostly have this tall goldenrod in our area. We always blame them on our feeling bad in the fall, but they're actually pollinated by the bees. They don't air pollinate like the ragweed that's sitting right next to them. So that ragweed is the ugly guy. This is not a bad guy. In fact, he's got medicinal properties too. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it does. Yeah, yeah. I collected some, the tops, and I dried them, and then I thought I would do something with them, and I didn't end up doing anything, so I gave them to Miss Pate, and she made soap out of it. It's very good for the skin. Jamie. This one, you can tell more about what it is from there instead of this one. This is a little close.
I'm not sure.
This is the one I always bug my husband about to ask him what it is. Do you remember what it is?
I don't know what the common name is, but it looks like a liliaceous.
A liliaceous? I don't know. Bill? Oh no, he's not going to remember. See, I train and train and train.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got the common.
He got the common name, yeah. Gay feather. You actually will see these in professional arrangements. People will put these gay feathers because they hold up really well as a cut flower. But you could just say it's in the Aster family. This one was a stumper for me last year. I had to get this. I made Bill dig it up. We put it in our garden, and then we had weeds all over the garden all the next year. It was wonderful. Anybody know what it is?
It looks like those spider flowers in a different color.
They're pale purple, and they look almost like little funky hats or whatever.
Yeah.
It's in the rabbit family.
It produces like rabbits, so it must be in the rabbit family. So it's our native bee balm, but I think if you were to buy bee balm at the store, you get more of a red. I think isn't that what they normally have as a red bee balm? Yes. Purple coneflower. I haven't seen these around our area, but I understand if you go a little bit further into the Piney Woods area, you'll see the purple coneflower. Echinacea. Ooh, another one of those. Aster family. There you go.
The daisy.
Four-nerve daisy. Now, we've got a lot of these. Yep. I'm sorry? But sneezeweed or bitterweed. It's got really fancy name, doesn't it? But anyway, that's what's blooming right now. You'll see that quite a bit out and about. See, I never had these in Central Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Very pretty. What about this one? I've only seen this a couple of times. I'm sorry?
We have those.
Is it a type of poppy?
Texas bluebell. It's actually in the gentian family. It says that it's been overpicked, so I don't know. I guess maybe that's the reason why we don't see as many, but I have seen them occasionally, and it was kind of like driving by. One of those I also thought, oh, somebody planted that, but Mother Nature did. This one popped up this spring along our roadway all over, and I had to look it up. I had to find it. What is it? Oh, you don't know what it is? It has these tiny little leaves like a mimosa plant, kind of locust weed. Trumpet vine, yep. Virginia creeper, I think, cow vine. Again, you'll see them kind of in among with all of the grapevines and stuff like that up in your trees.
Oh, the rose garden.
This one is a little difficult to see. But I'm sorry? It is a honeysuckle, but it's the coral or trumpet honeysuckle. So this is actually the native. We have a couple of them when we drive up and down our little road, but then we also see the more common one. So according to the Wildflower Center, this is good. The other one's bad. And I tried to find the more native looking one because I know they've got different varieties now. Oh, this is a favorite of mine. This is the one that's growing wild. So to me, Morning Glory is far too nice of a word for that vine.
It loves our condenser units outside.
Bindweed fits it better. I think it had a couple of other names too. I think some of them you can't even write, and you certainly can't say them out loud. But anyway, in the Morning Glory family. Lantana. Orange and yellow. I know I've got pink and yellow, orange and yellow. I've got a white one in my flower bed, but I think it's more of a cultivated, excuse me? Pink and orange, yep. Purple, that's right. Turk's cap. Another name, which I did not know, is also called the Mexican apple. Have you ever seen the fruit when it's done? Next time you go look at that fruit, it looks like a little orangey red apple sitting right on it, right where the bloom was. That's kind of cool. In the mallow family. Yep. Yeah. Again, I tried to, I don't know if that would, when we think of wildflowers, we usually just think of the actual flower, not actual tree, but this is a booming tourist attraction in some areas. Ours is kind of on the edge, but anyway, it's a dogwood, flowering dogwood tree. You never know for sure when it's going to come out. The red buds, the little flowers are actually edible. In fact, the pods are too, if you are so inclined, if you get hungry enough. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make seed bombs. I got a collection of seeds from wildseeds.com, wildseedfarms, I think, .com. And I've got the bag of them up there to show you. But what I've done is over here, we've got the mixtures that you need. So you mix clay with a real fine soil, and then the seeds. So what you'll do first is you'll just kind of mix those all up together, and once you've got that all incorporated real well, then we're going to put a couple of spoonfuls of water in there, and I've got one bag, and I'm thinking you can just stick your hand and stick your hand, one glove. You can stick your hand in that glove and you can make the seed balls, and we're just going to make about 5 or 6 seed balls. About dime size is what you're looking for. You don't want to make them real tight. They don't have to be real tight. But a seed bomb actually will protect the seeds. Some of them will just fly away. So it'll keep them more or less where you wanted them to be. It also protects them from birds and other animals that might scavenge. It provides you with some organic matter. And then you need to put them somewhere they have at least 4 hours of sun. I thought this was interesting. These were actually, seed balls were actually used in ancient Egypt. They would have, the Nile would flood every spring, and when the flood would go back, supposedly they put out seed bombs. I read an article about green gorillas, and it was back in when the downtown areas of big cities, urban areas were just blighted. They just had these horrible vacant lots that were just growing up and everything, and they weren't supposed to trespass, so they would just grab these seed bombs and they would throw them or even slingshot them into the properties to get some pretty plants. There are some farmers that have been known. I read about a Japanese gentleman that did all of his fields with okay, so here's his theory. He would do the seed bombs and he'd throw them out, and his theory was whatever plant was supposed to grow grew there. So, if you open it up and just kind of mix it up real good.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah. Wonder how chickens like it.
Yeah, really.
Is there anything chickens don't like?
Well, no, they don't like what you want them to eat.
Well, of course not. Of course not.
Well, there's plenty, and I've got more too, so anybody need? So you're just kind of mixing it up because you don't want the clay in just a small part. You want it to be all the way through, okay? And then once you've got it mixed, then you're just going to put a couple of spoonfuls of the water in. And this might be when you want to put your glove on, because now you're going to want to start mixing it. And you might need to add a little more water. It's better to have not enough water than too much water. Like maybe, that's right. These are tiny, these spoons are kind of small. Let us know how So as soon as you start feeling where it's starting to stick together, then you can start putting them into balls. You end up making a little ball. Okay? And you should be able to make about 5 or 6 of them in there.
So can you leave them in the baggie?
What if you leave them in the baggie? I want you to take them home and have the baggie open, or else they will start sprouting like mine are doing right now. Because they have to dry out completely, or else they'll germinate. Yes, ma'am. Here are my resources. The Texas Highway sent me a really nice brochure, and I didn't want y'all to have it until after your test. But I keep one in my glove box because, again, the brain is gone. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, it's really nice to have. You can open it up and it tells you all about the different, and then it even has some drives that you can go on if you want to, if you're interested in certain flowers, certain times of years. Okay? So I think that's it. If we want to go ahead and move on over.
Any questions before we move over?
Any questions?
I've got a question then.
What's the question?
When's the best time to plant wildflowers?
That's a good question. Best time to plant wildflowers. What the idea is that you should put them out when the wildflowers are putting them out. So technically that would have been late summer. But since it's not late summer, then their other recommendation with these seed bombs is to dry them out completely and throw them out when it gets to fall, because we don't want them to necessarily sprout now. We want them to be in the ground and ready for spring.
If you order from Wild Seed Farms, it tells you in there when the best time to plant. Most times it's by October.
Yeah.
There are some that you could go and plant in January, but most are by October.
So October. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes the seeds don't germinate that year, and you think, oh no, they didn't come up. But then next year, or the year after that, then they come.
That's a good point. So some of these seeds need to be what they call scarified in order for them to germinate. And they might not scarify the first year. So if they don't get eaten or whatever, there's a good chance that they could come up the following year. So, is that it?